Welcome to Fishing Without Bait. Whether you've got here by accident or on purpose, welcome aboard. The only entrance fee is the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try, where we help people create their lives rather than find themselves. We help people explode into their lives through full impact mindfulness. If you're welcome nowhere else, you're welcome here. Jump on board, grab a paddle, and let the adventure begin. Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Ellermeyer. I'm a behavioral health therapist, and today, as always, we're joined by our good friend and co-host and producer of this program, Mr. Mike. And we are also welcoming two special guests this evening, and we're welcoming them to the Sorgatron Media podcast family. And they would be Eamon and Merlin.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
So, Eamon, what's good about being you?
What's good about being me? Oh God, that's an introspective question. I think, especially with this podcast that me and Merlin have got together and done, I think it's also helped me kind of explore a lot of good things about me in terms of the things I enjoy, sort of getting my full breadth of me as a person, and all my interests out there, and being really passionate about things that I love and really care about. So I think that's kind of thing I'm discovering is really good about me right now, and sort of really embracing it, I would say, definitely.
Merlin, same question. What is good about being Merlin?
I have been on a long journey to figure that out. And there are things that I used to specifically not consider good things, that I do now consider good things. For our watchers, you can see that I present a little bit more femininely than most quote unquote men out there, and that used to be something that scared me and that I was ashamed of, and I have learned to embrace that in recent years, and just I think it's just really about learning to love whatever you discover about yourself and let it be what it is, and not try to define it, and not really try to put too fine a label on it.
Sounds like much acceptance, Merlin.
It's been a long road to get here, but yeah.
Yes. So generally what I ask people, Eamon, and I'll ask you both this, do you both know the difference between right and wrong?
I would hope so. I think, I definitely think, the way I was taught at a very young age is to look at it in that way and sort of look at life that way. Like, part of me, like my dad really instilled that in me a lot. The concept of like doing your best with your best intention and putting everything that you put into the world, like making it the best that it possibly can be, and factoring in your impact on the world, I guess you could say, was sort of his philosophy, and a lot of things he did in a lot of the thing that he taught me at a young age. I think that's really focused me in a lot when it comes to the way I sort of move about daily life, and I think I have that in mind probably a lot when I go about things, in the back of my mind, just kind of him in the back of my head saying like, think about something, make sure that you're doing the best that you can in that regard.
Sounds like your father was a great influence.
Oh, for sure. He shaped a lot of who I am, and if it wasn't for him sort of like really instilling that in the early stages of me and my brother's life as well, like I think a lot about like the different path I would probably be on.
Cool. How about you, Merlin?
Right from wrong. I think a lot of that is subjective, but I think as long as you're leading with love and compassion, then even if you get it wrong, if you're open to learn, then that's right.
Do you both have a moral compass?
Yeah, definitely that.
Can you both be dependable?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you both tell the truth?
I mean, I
Can
can
we?
tell the truth.
Are you capable of telling the
Yes,
truth?
there you
Yes.
go. Canon, I don't know about my accuracy rate maybe all the time, but
Do you treat people with courtesy and respect?
oh yeah, for sure.
Of course.
I think that's big in our
So a
mind.
lot of times I'll ask people, I'll say, what's good about being you? And a lot of times they don't have an answer.
Yeah.
So I'll say to them, well, do you know the difference between right and wrong? Do you have a moral compass? Can you be dependable? Are you capable of telling the truth? And do you treat people with courtesy and respect? And if they say yes to all those, and I say, there's a lot of really wonderful things about you.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah, I think
wonderful.
that's like a good through line, and like you said, like a really good checklist, I would say. I think that's what I look for in other people as well. It's just, you know, there's obviously going to be variances and differences, but like those basic tenets, I would definitely say is a big factor for me.
Well, we always ask people, especially when I deal with young ladies who have real problems with self-concept and self-esteem.
Yeah.
I usually, as a validation exercise, rather than ask them what they have to offer, I ask them to define what the requirements it takes to be with them.
Mm.
So, back to the Sorgatron Media family, you two started a podcast, and from what I gather, you two are not native Pittsburghers.
No.
No. We're Texans.
Please don't shun us, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh natives. We love your
Now,
beautiful city.
to be fair, I am Texas born and raised. Eamon was born in Michigan, but then moved very early in life to Texas. But yeah.
So basically, I'm just used to the weather.
Yeah.
That's about it. But no, yeah, we moved up back in September. Settled in here, kind of made the decision pretty quickly to make the life change. We decided like around the summer that we were going to go sort of full throttle with it and make that move, which was definitely added to the scariness factor of just how quickly it was. But ever since we've been up here, it just feels way more comfortable in that regard.
So how did two people from Pittsburgh find Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, it's, well, first of all, Sorg, as you mentioned before, the lovely producer of this program and everything at Sorgatron Media. I knew Sorg for a good while. I would say close to, God, it would have been like 2009, 2010 was when I first started getting involved with the Wrestling Mayhem show, also part of the Sorgatron Media Network. At a really young age, I think I was like maybe 15, 16, and just started forming a sort of virtual friendship with him and with the other people on the show and people in the community. And that really sort of really fostered over the years. And so I think when we were deciding on places to move, part of it was that sort of stability of like knowing people up here and having that sort of like that ability to fall back in case we, taking such a big leap, something like that, having people who could guide us in that way with this move. That was definitely, I think, a big factor for us.
However, you two left because...
Well,
Texas was Texasing.
Yes, multiple reasons.
Could you say more about that, Merlin?
Yeah, so Texas, in recent decades, I know it used to be a lot more purple back before Bush was governor, but we haven't had a Democratic governor since then, and a lot of the politics in Texas have gotten very alt-righty. Texas has been leading the charge in the nation, along with Florida, on anti-queer bills, anti-trans bills, and it was increasingly becoming a place where we no longer felt safe to live out loud.
That's a strong statement, Merlin. A place where I no longer felt safe.
Yeah, I was afraid to leave our apartment. It was getting that bad, just because I knew that for my own sanity, I could not go back to presenting in a way that would keep me safe. I could not go back to living in the oppressive closet. And it wasn't something that was feasible, basically. And when it leaked that Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned, we were very scared because we knew that once um, once that right to privacy was stricken down, because that was the basis on which they struck that down, then that would set a precedent for them to strike down things like Texas v. Lawrence, I think is what it is. That is the anti-gay law in Texas. And you don't even have to like prove that somebody is having a sexual relationship. You just need enough information to make their life hell.
And making their life hell means
Reporting them for just living together. Like back in the day, people like queer couples in Texas would get reported. I mean, not even just queer couples. It would be like straight couples that people didn't like, or not straight couples, but like if you had a roommate that literally had a separate bedroom in your house, you could get reported for the anti-sodomy laws that were there.
and the consequences of that would be
Even if you don't end up in jail, you will get harassed by police. You will get, you know, at least thrown in jail overnight, and you don't know what's going to happen to you in there.
you can get arrested and put in jail for being gay.
You used to be able to, and until if they ever do strike down Lawrence v. Texas, that law is still on the books in Texas. It was never removed. It's just a Supreme Court case that said it's unconstitutional.
When did you both start to feel oppressed?
I think a lot of it was you have
That's a loaded question.
Yours is maybe more lengthy, especially than mine. I think obviously you mentioned sort of the recent stuff in the summer of the decisions coming down. I think a lot of it as well was just I came out as gay in sort of a little later stage of my life. I was 22, and I was also kind of in many ways, and I knew this, and I kind of found this out after meeting Merlin and getting to know him and developing our relationship. I was in a bubble in many certain ways in terms of people I was kind of surrounded with. I had enough of a protection system, the sort of traditional strife of the people closest to you when you are having these making this decision to come out and live your life as you're destined to live it was a little safer for me in that regard. I think the recent string of just everything that had been happening, and then I think another thing for us in terms of also with the move especially was that I know we were also in a point of our relationship where we were thinking of eventually starting a family, sort of building upon our relationship. And for me, I think seeing the stuff that was happening in the state generally, we're seeing it a lot also now in just the school systems of places and certain discrimination that's being allowed for either children who are LGBT or who have parents that are LGBT, and sort of the uncertainty in regards to that. That's the first time I really felt sort of a tightening, I guess you could say is the best way I can describe it, of this feels unsafe. This feels like an attack, I guess, in many ways you could say.
Feeling unsafe to leave your home. That really doesn't sound like the land of the free and the home of the brave, Merlin.
It really doesn't. And honestly, until I moved out of my family house, I wasn't even safe in my home. I started feeling oppressed at the age of 6. I am a survivor of child rape. for about 6 years it was happening. My family doesn't even know that ever happened to me. But it did. And so I've known from a very, very, very young age who I was. And it was constantly being told to me, not directly like you are bad, you are awful, but tangentially, right? It constantly, because I grew up evangelical. So I grew up in that. It's already traumatic for people who are not queer. But then you throw that into it, and you end up with so much self-hate and so much suppression of just humanity, because it's not even just my queerness. It was the fact that I'm autistic, was something that I didn't know at the time, but it was differences that I was still trying to hide from everyone, because any difference makes you a sinner. Any difference makes you eligible for hell.
Makes you a sinner.
Oh, yeah. If you don't fit into their status quo, you're going to hell. And that is something that I still struggle with today, having left the church 10 years ago. I still struggle with that because it was ingrained in me at the youngest possible age. And it is something that is foundational to every thought process I've ever had. So having to deconstruct that conditioning, it is painful and it takes a long time, but I think I'm finally starting to get out of that.
I like that term, deconstruction.
Yeah,
Sounds like you've been in front of a therapist before.
Actually, it's been TikTok, honestly.
Yeah. I was going to say, he's more the therapist in the relationship. He's a great therapist.
I love psychology. It's something that I've always been passionate about. Like the way that the human mind works is fascinating to me. And when the pandemic hit and TikTok kind of blew up and became my only access to the outside world, I started finding communities that were teaching me things that helped me figure out who I was. The autistic community there and neurodivergent community there is huge. I'm also pagan now that I've left the Christian church, and the pagan/witchcraft community there is also huge and vibrant. And I've learned so much. The queer community there is huge and vibrant, and I've learned so much about being anti-racist from TikTok, and have learned, so much there. And I owe so much to the communities that I've found there in figuring out not just who I am, but also figuring out how to lead with compassion, not just for myself, compassion for who I am, but compassion for others.
We'll be continuing our conversation with Eamon and Merlin of a Gay and His Enby podcast on our next episode. And as always, we offer a free prescription: fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. Till all are free, none are free. Namaste, my friends.
If you're interested in flying the colors of fishing without bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait.